Before we jump into the content of the webcast, I wanted to go through just a little bit of housekeeping with everyone. So today, everyone all the attendees on the webcast will be muted for the length of the webcast, just because we have a lot of people joining us and it'll be hard to ask questions live. So instead, we're going to use the questions panel of GoToWebinar. If you have a question at any point during the webcast, please go ahead and submit that. One of us will be monitoring the questions throughout the whole webcast, and then we'll answer them at the end also. All right, so now just to jump in, again, the purpose of today is we wanted to go through and recap out of all of the releases we've had for 2016. I know there's a lot of information that comes out for each release. So we're going to go back through a recap of all of those items and share some great information and where you can also learn more if you happen to miss those releases. And so first, I'm actually going to turn it over to Randy.
Thanks, Randa. So as Randa mentioned, we're going to go through what we released in 2016. For those that are not familiar, if you go to our website and to our community page, the website is www.csisoftwareusa.com. Log in, go to the community page, and then go to documentation. We have a listing there for release notes where you can get more detail on all the items we're going to talk about today, including the maintenance items and enhancements that were released on those particular months. So again, if you need more information on that, please don't hesitate to go to the website and get that information. With that, we're going to go ahead and jump in and to talk about what we did in 2016. One of the first things we did that we wanted to talk about is maintenance focus. So what we did over the past few months is we've gone in and really made it a big effort to try and go ahead and take care of some of those maintenance items that have been outstanding that customers were calling about and asking for fixes for. So we took the time these past couple of months to kind of address these. In the October update, we were able to successfully take care of 60 maintenance items. And then in December release that came last week, we were able to address 28 of those items. We plan to continue to address these maintenance items in future releases going forward and continue to make this part of an effort of not only giving you new content, but also taking care of some of the items that are still there and working and just making sure they give you the best results of the software has to offer. Jumping into some of the enhancements that we did for 2016, in June, we released one of the features here called credit card entry. Now with this particular feature, what we did is we've added an ability for now the facility to restrict which workstations can actually be used for credit card entry. So there are setups within the system that allow you to go and designate which stations can actually allow you to enter credit card information into the NG database. So that's definitely handy for those facilities that need to lock down restrictions onto who can have access to entering credit card information. This gives you now the ability to do that. Along with that change, we also updated the flow on how to add and edit credit cards into the system. So now when you go in to add or edit a credit card, you now get a separate box that comes up where you put in the pertinent information like card number, card type, expiration, and the new field cardholder name. And that cardholder name is going to be important going forward because it's now going to be a required piece of information for processing credit card information moving forward with processing credit cards. So just a couple of things we did there with the credit card entry screen. Moving on to the next item, in December, last week actually, we released the Member Management Security Update. Now what we did here is we've added 4 new options for you to restrict what members are allowed to do, employees are allowed to do in the system with particular member records. So we've added the ability to restrict scan code changes, so basically preventing an employee from changing someone's scan code. We've also added an option to prevent people from changing the status of an individual member, so that status button would become unavailable to them. You also now have the ability to restrict making a main member into a sub and conversely making a sub member into a main. So this all applies naturally for the employee's home site, but we've also added these as options to if the employee can make changes to other sites if you're a multi-site facility. So that's definitely one of the nice enhancements, just a small change, but definitely very beneficial for restricting and keeping your information locked down so employees aren't making changes that they don't need to be making. Next, in December, we also released some changes for the for the Tnc Lockout Changes. So that's the terms and condition lockout. It's a feature we have in the system that allows you to take a sale over the phone and then have the member go either online to sign their contract electronically, or if for whatever reason they didn't go online, there's a prompt at the check-in screen that lets you know that a signature still needs to be needed for a contract. What we did with this is we've actually split out the setups for that to be 2 individual records. There is now a switch that controls the online portion, whether it prompts the user to sign the contract electronically, and then there's a separate setting for the check-in pop-up that comes up. So now you can decide whether you want to turn on both options or one of the options. Along with that, if you do have the check-in option turned on, we've also added more content to the message box that comes up that tells you not only the contract number that still needs to be signed, but also which site that contract is at. So that way you can easily navigate to the contract list to find that particular contract. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Nicole to talk about some of the changes we've done in the facility management modules.
Thanks, Randy. The first change that we've done was a change we did in February dealing with the view info box in Scheduler. So on the in Spectrum NG, if you right click and click view info, then you can view additional information such as list of all of the participants on that schedule, some price information according to what fee that each participant has, icons whether or not they've been paid or checked in, and additionally, if you mouse over someone's name that is a hyperlink, then you can view the contact information for that person. I'm not showing it on the slide, but you can also see a little icon that comes up if there's a note attached to that particular schedule. In June, we came up with a change for the employee OLS that improved the workflow when an employee is taking multiple payments for multiple people on a schedule. So let's say that they took the payment for the first person at booking and they get to the confirmation of the payment that you're seeing on the screen. Before, they had to kind of go back and it took them back to the main menu and they had to find that particular schedule again and then take the next payment. But we've changed that button so that it now says continue taking payment. It'll direct you right back to the schedule you were just working on so that you can easily go back and take the next payment. All right, the next change we have that came out in February was a change. It's actually an expansion to the booking rules and group exercise. So previous to this, we had a may reserve up to so many hours or days prior to the class. And that was great, but we wanted to expand that and had a lot of requests to expand that into an in-house versus an online setting. And we further expanded that from member to guests. So that's why you see the 4 areas of the screen here. The 2 rules that we added in each area was that you can now set a limit of reserving up to a certain amount of days, hours, or minutes prior to the class start. So if you don't want to allow people to do last-minute bookings online, for example, if you've already printed out your roster like 10 minutes prior to the class, you can set that here. You could also restrict cancellation up to a certain amount of hours or days prior to the class start. All right, the next change is also in Group X. This came out in April. This allows you as a facility to create new class schedules in a really efficient manner. So prior to this, you had to go in and create new class schedules basically from scratch each time, like each month, which could be pretty labor intensive. So we added a clone feature here. So if you have schedules that pretty much are the same week to week, you can go in, select those schedules, click clone, and then enter a date range over which you'd like to clone over. So for example, if you select class schedules for like 1 week, and maybe you have 40 of those class schedules, and then you'd like to clone that week essentially out to the every week for the next 3 months, you can do that very quickly and easily. The system will check during the clone process whether there's any resource or provider conflicts. And if there are conflicts, it'll give you a report that'll let you know what those are so you can address them. All right, the next feature that we had come out, there we go, is we've changed the group exercise member online experience to show classes where there's no fee involved in the cart online. So for example, here you'll see that I'm signing up for 2 classes, one that has a fee and one that doesn't. Prior to this enhancement, we would just automatically register for you for the non-fee class immediately upon selection. Where now we'll actually put that in the cart with your fee class. So that way, this increases both the transparency for the online user and it helps to avoid unintentional enrollments. All right, we had another enhancement in February, which was really great because it allows you to send out emails and create mailing labels based on the criteria in many of the camp reports. So if you've used other generate notification areas in other reports within the system, then you'll kind of know what this does. We've added this to the communication report, the unpaid report, the additional service report, electives and fees, the roster, transportation, and UDS and codes. In April, we also added a revenue report for camp. So what this does is you'll see each row is essentially its own camp, and then each column is a session. So most people, a session is like a week. So if you follow the row and the session to a specific box, you'll be able to see the revenue, any promotional discount that you might have given, other discounts that you provided in the system, and finally a net income amount for that particular camp offered in that particular week. Also in April, we made a change to the Kid Care module. We added a kids present number, which essentially is like a head count for all the kids that are in the Kid Care area at that given time. You can also click the by room button next to it, and it'll give a breakdown of how many kids are in each room if you have multiple rooms. And if you click the kids present button on the toolbar, it'll bring up a report that you can print out showing not just the room breakdown, but then the specific children that are in each room. Also in April, we had a feature to restrict the use for a particular person within a specific module. So, for example, if I am no longer, maybe I've had a lot of no-shows in Scheduler for my tennis court bookings. So the facility has warned me multiple times, and I'm no longer allowed to participate in anything that's offered in Scheduler. Then the facility can go in and blacklist me from that Scheduler module. When I get blacklisted, I can enter a reason, meaning the facility can enter a reason for that blacklist, and you can also see historic restrictions on the removed tab. Now, just to note, we will be changing the term blacklist on an upcoming release and how it pertains to public-facing, like member OLS. Oh, sorry, one other thing on that last one. I should mention this pertains to 3 modules. It's Scheduler, Group Exercise, and Equipment Checkout. All right, so we had a few performance enhancements as well. We have made the program registration cloning process much more efficient so that it takes out those timeout issues that we were having before, so it's very smooth now. We've also went in and bolstered the program registration roster report, the camp revenue report, and the equipment checkout buttons. And another thing that we came out with this year was the Member Connect app. This is the employee-facing app. Employees can log in using their Spectrum NG credentials and do a variety of functions, including viewing their scheduler appointments, creating a new appointment, checking in participants, collecting payment, managing the instructor's availability, selling series sale packages, and running the activity and the employee commission reports. All right, and with that, I'll turn it back over to Randy for what's ahead.
Thank you, Nicole. So as Nicole mentioned, we're going to talk about some of the items that we have upcoming. The items that we're going to talk about are looking to be coming out in the first quarter of the new year, so we'll go through a couple of those items here. And keep in mind also, as we continue moving forward, not only will enhancements be a part of any future update, but we'll also continue to be looking at those maintenance items and addressing those as we go along. So that's still definitely going to be a priority on our side to make sure that those items are getting addressed as well. The first item that we have upcoming is confirmation and reminder text. Now, this is an integration we've done with Twilio that'll give you another option for those confirmation reminder texts that come out of the facility management modules like scheduler, program registration, and Group X. Basically what it does is it doesn't replace the emails. It basically gives you the option to now also send a text with it, or maybe send the text instead of the email out to the customers. So that way they get a nice reminder of the class that's upcoming, or a confirmation to let them know that they did definitely enroll for a class. Along with this feature that we added for the facility management, we also thought it would be nice to have something similar for the prospect management side of it. So what we ended up doing was also creating a confirmation email/text for tour reminders. So those prospects that have upcoming tours can now not only get an email, which didn't exist, but they can also have the option to receive a text to remind them that they have an upcoming tour with a particular salesperson at your facility.
We are changing the series sales available number that shows both in-house and online for scheduler and group exercise. So when thinking about series sales availability, there are two numbers that tend to be used. The first one is the true number of literal series sales that are available to be used on a package. And the second is an adjusted number, which is the true number minus any unpaid for schedules that exist in the system. So to give you an example, let's say that I bought a package with 10 series sales. After a week, I redeemed 3 of those series sales. So I now literally have 7 true series sales available. So this is the number that we're going to be showing on the series sales available. However, what we currently show is we look out in the system and say, okay, if you have 2 unpaid for schedules in the future, then we'll subtract those 2 and we'll show you that you have 5 adjusted series sales available, which is confusing to people. So to kind of wrap that up, we currently show the 5 adjusted number, and we will be showing the 7 true number of series sales available. All right, another thing that we have coming up is in Scheduler. A lot of you use the payment requirements in Scheduler, and what this means is, for those of you who don't, is let's say that in order to book anything in Scheduler, whether it be online or in-house, you require maybe a credit card to be on file and associated with that schedule, or you require that the person has a series sale package, or that they have CTA privileges like the charge to account. Currently, we only enforce that rule in-house, but this change is to extend that enforcement to both the employee and the member OLS. This will provide a uniform application of this rule, which will make it quite a bit better.
One of the last things we're targeting for this quarter surely not the last thing, but is the change salesperson on invoice. Now what this is basically, it's a way to kind of clean up any mistakes that were done by a person who made a sale. So for example, if you have salespeople that get paid for commissions and by some strange reason in POS somebody put in the wrong salesperson, right now the way to change that is you have to delete, or excuse me, refund that particular invoice and then recreate it. And then that causes issues with commissions because the date of the invoice doesn't match the actual date when they actually did the transaction, so the person could potentially get paid on the next payment schedule rather than the one they're expecting to get paid on. So what we're going to do is add the ability within the invoice detail screen to be able to go in, pull up an invoice, and then see a salesperson field, and then allow you to change that salesperson to be the correct salesperson that should have been on the sale. Obviously, this assumes that the commission runs for that particular date are unrun, and if you had run them, there's an easy way to delete that commission run, be able to make the change to the invoice, and then run that commission to have the proper person get the proper commission they're expecting to get. So definitely a nice little change in giving the users the ability to kind of manage commissions in a better way than we currently offer today. So with that, we're going to go ahead and check the questions log that we have and see what we have out there.
We have, so Randy, Nicole, we have one question that's came in already. So everyone else start typing away. Let us know if you have any questions about the information that we've covered. First, how does a customer go about getting access to the Member Connect app? What's that process look like?
Great, so that's a great question. So first place to start with that is going to our website, again, www.csisoftwareusa.com, logging into the community page, and then there'll be an option called Brand My App. And when you click on that link, what it'll do is it'll take you to a screen where there are different links for the different apps that we offer. So the Member app will be there, the Member Connect app will be there. You'll simply click on that link for either the iOS or the Android version of the app, fill out the form and submit that information to us. That information will be taken here. We'll verify the information and then work to make the build for that particular app request. Typical builds take between 2 to 6 weeks. But with the holidays coming up, we're going to go ahead and put a break on doing any new builds until the new year. So we'll pick up building new apps in January for both the Member Connect app and the Member Facing app. So again, if you go to our website, go to Brand My App and look at the various links there, you'll have the option to submit your request in and get access to the app.
So one of the questions I think was going back to the text message options, and where will they go to set that up once the release is available?
So for the text messaging, right now the actual message is going to be a hard-coded message that has the basic information about the reservation. It'll have the reservation number, the name of the person who made the reservation, the date and time of the reservation, and if there's a location where that's going to be at. So at the moment, the text messages will be set up as a hard-coded entry for both reminders and confirmation.
Okay, and I think we have another question, Nicole, going back to the scheduler. When an event is scheduled through scheduler, what does the icon look like to show the event has been paid?
If you're using the scheduler module for that, it would be the same, I guess, payment icon. If you're talking about like the view info details, whoever the host is on that event through scheduler, I'm assuming that they're the only one who would probably have a fee due to the nature of an event. So when that person has paid in full, then you'll see that little icon. It looked like a hand holding some money. So that's what you'll see next to that, probably the host, depending on your setup. And if that didn't answer your question, just let me know. Okay.
All right, there's a question about the text messaging feature and whether it's going to allow you to do custom messages. Unfortunately, no. At the current moment, the text messaging is going to be limited only to confirmation and text, or excuse me, confirmation and reminders at the moment. So there is no free-form text that is available. Yeah, so there's a question on the change salesperson, whether there's going to be unique permissions on the ability to make the change. Yes, there is. I failed to mention that. There will be a setting in the security that allows you to determine whether a person will have access to change salesperson. That'll be located under the AR transaction section of the security. There'll be a new option there that says change salesperson. By default, that will be unchecked, meaning that the person doesn't have access to it, since currently that's the way it works today. Nobody can change salesperson. When the feature's rolled out, you'll need to go through to the securities and update that and check it off if you want to give employees options to make a change to the salesperson. We're just looking at the questions here, so give us a moment. So there's a question on the app. So when you're requesting to have the app built, it asks some questions that you want to add to the store. If you actually click, when you go into the actual website, there should be a link that has a document that helps you go through answering some of the questions. If you're in the actual form itself, there's an information circle in blue. If you click on that, it'll give you more detail about what it's asking for. Keep in mind, the information you enter in there is just the basic information we need. If at some point before you go live with the app, if you need to update the information to be a proper website, or maybe you want to change the description, that's fine. During the test flight, it's information we need to fill out for Apple to be able to approve the request. But again, it's not the last time you're going to have the option to be able to update that information. So if you, like I said, on the actual form itself, it does have information links there to give you a little bit more detail about what it's asking for. There should be a link for some instruction on that as well, but there is also the ample opportunity to change any of that information you submit.
We got another question about the series sales available change. And the question was, will you still be able to see like the reservations that someone has outstanding? And the answer is yes. There'll be a couple ways to do that. The easiest way will be when you see that number, so it'll say like series sales available, and let's say it has like 7. You'll be able to click that number and see not only the usage of the series sales, but you'll see at that point a pop-up that shows both the 7, using my example from before, the 7 true series sales, and will also show you the 5 adjusted series, or the number 5 for taking into account the 2 adjusted series sales. And I believe that you can click that and we'll show you the detail of what the adjustments were, so what schedules were being accounted for there. You can also, of course, go into the client view and see someone's schedules in the client view, just like you can today.
We had a question about finding out more information on how to utilize the terms and conditions function. If you go to our website and do a search, I believe we did a webinar. This feature came out, I believe, last year when we rolled out 6.0. There was a webinar that talked a little bit about how the terms and condition functions work. For the specific changes that I mentioned today in our webinar, if you go to our release notes, it gives you a little bit more detail on the changes that we made to the existing feature. But if you want to just get an overall view of how that works, just do a search on our website. And if you still have questions, definitely give customer success a call and they can assist you with any questions you have. So there was a question asking, when will the texting feature be available? So right now it's scheduled for February, will be when that will be available.
Okay, so we have a question about the series sale availability and how it will be shown on the member-facing app. When we first released this feature, it's going to be applied to in-house and the online portal. We will be looking at the schedule to determine when we can potentially work that into the app. But at first release, it will not be included in the app.
Okay, and we're getting several questions around just this webcast itself. So we have recorded this webcast so that you can go back and share it with other staff and your team later. So following, probably towards the end of this week, we'll send out a recap with the video of the webcast, and also try to share some of the questions, frequently asked questions, so that you can see those in writing as well. But we definitely have recorded it.
All right, well, looks like we've reached the end of the questions we have for today. So as Saranda mentioned, we will be sending out information for this link to download this video and share with others at your facility. I want to thank you for your time today and taking part in the webinar, and look forward to talking to you in the future.
And if we still had a few questions that I think were very specific to each facility, so we'll follow up with you one-on-one to answer those questions as needed.
All right. Thank you, everybody, and have a great afternoon.